The forest edge is alive with subtle movements, each leaf trembling under the weight of unseen dramas. Among the vertical blades of grass and the delicate latticework of twigs, a figure holds perfectly still. It is neither branch nor leaf, but a predator cloaked in plain sight, the praying mantis. The insect's stillness is so absolute that wind-driven foliage sways around it like a stage curtain, disguising the true nature of the hunter waiting within. Only the eyes reveal the deception, twin orbs mounted on a triangular head, turning with uncanny precision, calculating depth and distance with a mastery rarely seen in the insect world. The mantis is one of the few insects to possess genuine stereo vision. Most insects rely on compound eyes that trade fine detail for panoramic coverage, detecting motion and color, but lacking the binocular overlap needed for precise depth perception. The mantis, however, has evolved a different visual strategy. Each eye is a globe studded with thousands of ommatidia, but within that globe lies a small region called the fovea. This dark spot, visible as a moving dot within the eye, concentrates visual processing into a forward-facing zone. When both eyes lock onto the same object, the mantis gains true three-dimensional vision, a rare privilege among arthropods. The advantages of such vision are immense. For a predator that must snatch prey with a single strike, misjudging distance by even a fraction of a millimeter could mean failure. Depth perception ensures that the mantis knows exactly how far its target is, whether a careless fly buzzing too close or a cricket grazing on a tender leaf. Unlike dragonflies that rely on speed and aerial agility, the mantis stalks its victims with patience and precision. Its body sways gently from side to side, mimicking the movement of vegetation in the wind. To the insect's future victim, this sway erases suspicion. The mantis is simply another stem among many. Yet behind the mask, those forward-facing eyes are triangulating, adjusting for parallax, measuring the exact coordinates of life about to be extinguished. The head swivel adds another layer of sophistication. While most insects have rigid, immobile heads fused to their thorax, mantises can pivot theirs through nearly 180 degrees. This gives them a panoramic field of vision without betraying their presence through bodily movement. A fly may circle, a beetle may scuttle, yet the mantis can follow with its gaze alone, unseen, and unrecognized. When the time is right, the hunter will not simply lash out blindly. The eyes, the head swivel, the neural circuits dedicated to depth calculation all align in a chain of evolutionary engineering designed for one outcome, the perfect strike. That strike comes from the mantis's most extraordinary adaptation, the raptorial forelegs. At first glance, these limbs are folded in prayer, giving the insect its common name. But to a biologist, the posture is less a gesture of serenity and more the coiling of a spring. Each foreleg is lined with sharp spines, some long and jagged, others shorter but equally unforgiving. At the base, a latch mechanism locks the leg into a folded position, storing tension like a loaded crossbow. When released, the strike unfolds in a fraction of a second, too fast for the eye to follow without slow-motion footage. The biomechanics are astonishing. As the foreleg extends, the tibia swings outward in a precise arc, while the femur drives downward, closing like a trap. Prey caught within this vice are instantly pinned against the thorax. The spines pierce exoskeletons and flesh alike, preventing escape even as the insect thrashes in vain. Once caught, there is no second chance. The mantis does not pursue prey over long distances, nor does it need venom to subdue its victims. Its strength, precision, and mechanical efficiency are sufficient. Consider the moment in detail. A housefly lands within range, rubbing its forelegs together, oblivious to the danger only a body length away. The mantis remains motionless, foveae locked in stereo focus. In a blink, though the action takes place faster than a blink, the forelegs lash forward. For a fly that lives only a few weeks, this is the final instant. Caught between spines, its wings vibrate helplessly. The mantis begins to feed immediately, chewing with robust mandibles, while the prey is still alive, still struggling. Evolution has not equipped the mantis with sentiment, only efficiency. Camouflage is the other half of this predatory equation. Across the globe, mantises have diversified into forms that mimic leaves, sticks, flowers, and even moss. In tropical forests, orchid mantises bear pink and white lobes that resemble petals, deceiving pollinators that approach with intent to feed. In temperate grasslands, green mantises resemble blades swaying among meadow stems. In arid scrub, brown mantises align with twigs and bark. The strategy is not mere concealment from prey, but also protection from predators. Birds, reptiles, and even larger mantises hunt them, and survival depends on remaining invisible until the final strike. The ecological role of this ambush predator is profound. By preying on a wide range of insects, from pollinators to pests, mantises exert a selective pressure on behavior and survival strategies across ecosystems. Their hunting does not discriminate. They consume bees and butterflies as readily as locusts or moths. Some species even hunt vertebrates, taking small lizards, amphibians, and on rare occasions, hummingbirds. This omnivorous predation makes them both regulators of insect populations and opportunistic feeders shaping food webs in subtle ways. Behind the simplicity of waiting and striking lies an intricate neural system. Studies reveal that mantises are capable of complex decision-making during hunting. They adjust their strike based on prey speed and size, sometimes aborting mid-movement if the target suddenly changes trajectory. Their stereovision allows them to perceive looming threats, a visual cue essential for distinguishing between prey approaching and predators closing in. Unlike most insects that rely on optic flow, the general expansion of patterns across their vision, mantises interpret true depth, a cognitive leap that edges them closer to vertebrate hunters than to their insect kin. The sway, so characteristic of mantis behavior, has multiple purposes. While it does mimic the wind, some researchers suggest it also enhances depth perception. By moving side to side, the mantis shifts the angle of its stereo overlap, refining its calculation of distance. It is the insect equivalent of a rangefinder, where motion sharpens the accuracy of visual data. Thus, what appears as a mere quirk is in fact a survival tool, polished over millions of years of predatory refinement. From an evolutionary perspective, the mantis embodies a remarkable convergence of traits. Stereovision has independently arisen in mammals, birds, and a handful of reptiles, yet here it appears in an insect, a lineage that typically relies on very different sensory strategies. Similarly, raptorial forelegs echo the talons of raptors or the claws of crustaceans, parallel solutions to the universal challenge of grasping and subduing prey. Such convergences remind us that evolution, while opportunistic, often finds similar answers to similar problems across the tree of life. As the mantis continues its silent vigil, the cycle repeats. Prey approach, unaware. The sway, the calculation, the strike, each sequence rehearsed countless times over evolutionary history, each successful hunt a reinforcement of design honed by natural selection. The mantis does not hunt for glory or strategy, but for survival. Yet in its alien eyes and mechanical forelegs, we glimpse the artistry of nature's engineering. It is an insect that sees as we see, judges distance as we do, and strikes with a precision that rivals machines built in laboratories. In the stillness of the grassland, where the hum of flies and the rustle of beetles fill the air, the mantis remains poised, a silent raptor cloaked in green. It is a predator that embodies patience and violence in equal measure, its every movement, or lack thereof, calibrated by the dual gifts of vision and weaponry. For the observer, the lesson is clear. Even in the miniature jungles beneath our feet, evolution crafts hunters, as sophisticated as any hawk circling above. At the break of dawn, when the first beams of sunlight seep through the canopy, a glimmering architecture stretches between the branches. Suspended in the humid stillness of the forest, it shimmers not silver, but gold. The golden silk orb-weaver, a spider famed both for its size and for the spectral glow of its silk, has completed its night's labor. What hangs in the air is not merely a trap, but a masterpiece of engineering. A device fine-tuned by evolution to ensnare some of the most perceptive creatures on Earth. The construction begins with a plan as old as the lineage of orb-weaving spiders. First, the builder casts a bridge line across a gap, anchoring silk to opposing branches or twigs. This initial strand is the foundation from which all else will radiate. From it, the spider descends, attaching lines downward to establish a frame.
The radii follow, strong, taut spokes extending from a central hub like the ribs of a wheel.
Only when these scaffolds are secured does the true artistry begin, the capture spiral. Moving outward in widening circles, the spider lays a temporary spiral of dry silk, a guide for spacing. Then, retracing the path inward, it replaces the spiral with sticky capture silk, each loop carefully measured, evenly spaced, and connected to the radii. By dawn, the web is not only functional but symmetrical, a geometric instrument designed to intercept the trajectories of flying insects. The architecture is remarkable not merely for its shape, but for its material. The golden orb-weaver possesses an arsenal of silk glands, each secreting a different type of fiber. Dragline silk, the backbone of the structure, is drawn from the major ampullate glands. It is as strong as steel by weight and tougher than Kevlar, capable of withstanding wind, rain, and the desperate struggles of ensnared prey. From other glands, the spider produces sticky capture silk, studded with glycoproteins that bind like glue. There is also wrapping silk, softer and more pliant, ideal for immobilizing victims, and fine cribellate-like threads used for securing eggs. Every spinneret is a nozzle in a living 3D printer, each gland calibrated to a precise function. Where humans must weave with separate materials, the orb-weaver spins a multi-textured fabric from its own body. The golden tint is more than ornament. Under direct sunlight, the threads reflect not only visible gold, but also ultraviolet wavelengths invisible to the human eye, yet irresistible to many insects. To pollinators searching for flowers, ultraviolet reflectance signals nectar and pollen. A bee, navigating by color patterns beyond our perception, may be drawn toward the web as though it were a blossom suspended in mid-air. Dew beads amplifying the silk's refractive sheen only deepen the illusion, turning the web into a radiant halo of false promises. For the spider, this is the art of deception at its most refined, hijacking the visual cues of its prey to lure them to death. Once prey strikes the web, the engineering is tested. The radial threads, made of rigid dragline silk, absorb the kinetic energy, preventing the web from tearing. The sticky spiral holds the victim fast, gluing wings or legs to the fibers. The more the insect struggles, the deeper it becomes entangled. Within seconds, the orb-weaver rushes from the hub, guided by vibrations that travel through the silk like signals through a telephone wire. A precise bite delivers venom, and the thrashing subsides. What began as light-striking golden threads ends as protein captured, destined to fuel the spider's metabolism and future silk production. Silk is not expendable. Producing it requires amino acids, which the spider must extract from its diet. For this reason, orb-weavers are known for their frugality. Old webs are consumed, recycled directly into the body's reserves. After a storm tears the delicate architecture apart, or when dust and debris clog the adhesive spirals, the spider dismantles its own work, devouring the strands as efficiently as it once laid them. Within hours, it will rebuild anew. This cycle of consumption and reconstruction is a remarkable adaptation, conserving resources in an ecosystem where protein is precious. Unlike human engineers who discard broken structures, the spider transforms failure into raw material for another attempt. The scale of the web itself varies with circumstance. In open clearings, golden orb weavers spin structures stretching over a meter in diameter, large enough to intercept dragonflies or butterflies. In denser understories, the webs are smaller, fitted to the available gaps. Regardless of scale, the symmetry remains. The spiral spacing, the radial alignment, the tension of each thread, all are measured through feedback felt by the spider's legs, not seen with its eyes. It is a construction performed by touch, guided by instinct, yet executed with the precision of a trained architect. What emerges from these nightly labors is not static. The web ages, stretches, and shifts under environmental pressures. Orb weavers adjust accordingly, reinforcing weakened sections extending lines to catch more sunlight or repositioning the hub when prey availability changes. In this way, the web is both architecture and behavior, a physical structure inseparable from the life of its maker. Beyond its role as a hunting tool, the golden web serves as a shield and a stage. Birds, which might otherwise collide with invisible silk, are thought to avoid the webs due to their golden gleam. In some cases, the color may warn larger animals to steer clear, reducing destructive breakages. Meanwhile, the web attracts not only prey, but also parasites and kleptoparasitic spiders that lurk at the margins, stealing scraps or feeding on captured insects too small for the orb-weaver to bother with. Thus, each web becomes a microhabitat, supporting an entire guild of opportunists. The female golden orb-weaver, often many times larger than the male, dominates this world. Males, tiny in comparison, approach cautiously, sometimes living at the edge of a female's web until the opportunity to mate arises. Even here, silk plays a role, as males may lay fine threads to signal their presence and intentions. For the female, however, the web remains above all a hunting ground, a shining net that transforms sunlight into food, deception into sustenance. The evolutionary implications are striking. By exploiting the sensory biases of insects, orb weavers have turned the act of foraging into a form of sensory manipulation. What a bee perceives as nectar guides, what a moth interprets as moonlight glimmer, is in truth an illusion woven by silk. The spider does not move, does not chase, yet through careful construction it alters the very way other creatures perceive the world. This interplay between predator and prey vision illustrates the arms race of perception, where survival depends not only on strength or speed, but on the ability to deceive. Human fascination with golden silk is not new. In the early 20th century, fabric woven from orb-weaver silk was displayed in exhibitions, shimmering with a luster unmatched by domesticated silkworm fibers. The rarity of harvesting enough silk, requiring thousands of spiders for even a small textile, made it impractical, yet the pursuit reveals the awe inspired by this natural material. Modern science continues to study its properties, seeking to replicate its tensile strength and flexibility for use in medicine, engineering, and aerospace. But the orb-weaver spins effortlessly what human laboratories still struggle to mimic. As the day advances and the sun climbs higher, the golden web becomes less visible to human eyes, its threads dissolving into the brightness of the forest. Yet to insects navigating by ultraviolet patterns, the illusion persists. Pollinators continue to mistake it for floral reward, and the orb-weaver continues to harvest the dividends of deception. When dusk falls, the spider may recycle and rebuild, adjusting to the night's winds and the next day's light. The cycle is endless, as continuous as the flow of energy from plant to pollinator to predator. In the shimmering threads of the golden silk orb-weaver lies a story of biology, chemistry, and behavior fused into a single art. Every line spun is a calculation of force and tension, every hue reflected a manipulation of vision, every act of recycling a lesson in efficiency. To watch the web sway in the forest breeze is to glimpse not only a trap, but a living testament to the ingenuity of evolution, a structure that is at once fragile and enduring, transient and eternal, simple in form yet complex beyond measure. The morning air in a sunlit orchard hums with layered sounds. Songbirds trade calls from the treetops, leaves whisper with the faintest breeze, and beneath it all, a deeper vibration pulses against the stillness, the droning resonance of a carpenter bee. Unlike the high-pitched flutter of honeybees or the erratic buzz of flies, this sound carries a richness, a mechanical hum powered by thoracic engines far stronger than their size suggests. To the casual observer, a carpenter bee may look like a stocky bumblebee, its body cloaked in velvet black hairs that glisten in the sun. Yet within this modest insect resides a secret ability that has reshaped the evolution of plants themselves, the power to unlock pollen by vibration. Many flowers conceal their reproductive wealth, hiding pollen within narrow chambers called poricidal anthers. In these blossoms, such as tomatoes, blueberries, and cranberries, the pollen is not freely dusted across the petals, nor does it spill out easily when a pollinator brushes by. Instead, it lies sealed inside tough capsules, as though in a vault. For most insects, these flowers remain closed, their rewards inaccessible. But the carpenter bee has evolved the perfect key: buzz pollination or sonication. The process begins with a precise maneuver. The bee lands on a flower, anchoring itself by gripping the anther with powerful mandibles. Once clamped in place, it disengages the normal wing-beat rhythm that drives flight. Instead, the thoracic flight muscles, dense bundles of fibers that power wing motion, are activated in a different mode. Rather than moving the wings, these muscles vibrate the entire body. The frequency is not random. It is tuned to a specific range that resonates with the structure of the anther. As the bee vibrates, energy transfers into the plant, shaking the pollen loose. In a moment that is almost explosive in miniature, golden grains burst from tiny pores, spilling onto the bee's body like dust shaken from a hidden vault. This sonic trick is one of nature's most extraordinary partnerships. The bee cannot access the pollen without the vibration, and the plant cannot disperse its pollen without a partner capable of generating that frequency. It is a co-evolutionary pact, one that ties the reproductive success of entire plant families to the sonic abilities of bees. Crops such as tomatoes and blueberries rely heavily on this interaction. Without buzz-pollinating species, yields are drastically reduced. Honeybees, despite their fame, cannot perform this technique. Only carpenter bees, bumblebees, and a handful of other specialists possess the anatomical control to generate the necessary resonance. The spectacle is invisible to human eyes but palpable through observation. One can imagine the flower as a musical instrument and the bee as both player and amplifier. Each buzz is a pluck of a string, shaking loose life's potential in the form of pollen. Studies reveal that the frequency often lies in the range of 200 to 400 hertz, the deep hum of a bass note, scaled down to the size of an insect. In effect, the carpenter bee is a living tuning fork, capable of striking exactly the vibration needed to release fertility locked within the bloom. The benefits to the bee are immediate. The pollen, rich in protein, becomes food for developing larvae back in the nest. Adults gather nectar for energy, but pollen provides the foundation for the next generation. The flower, meanwhile, benefits equally. The shaken pollen dusts the bee's body, and when the insect moves to the next bloom, grains are transferred, enabling cross-pollination. Thus, a partnership of physics and biology ensures reproduction across both kingdoms, animal and plant. Yet carpenter bees are not only pollinators. Their name derives from their woodworking habits, an entirely different but equally fascinating dimension of their biology. Unlike honeybees that form waxen hives or bumblebees that use abandoned burrows, carpenter bees excavate their nests directly into wood. Using mandibles sharp and unyielding, they bore into dead logs, fence posts, or the exposed beams of human structures. The entrance holes are nearly perfect circles, as though drilled by a craftsman's tool. Behind the entrance, the tunnel extends straight into the grain, sometimes turning at right angles, sometimes branching. Inside these galleries, the female constructs brood cells in sequence. Each chamber is provisioned with a ball of pollen mixed with nectar, a concentrated loaf of protein and sugar. On this food mass, she lays a single egg, then seals the cell with a wall of chewed wood fibers. Successive cells are constructed deeper and deeper into the tunnel until the gallery holds a line of offspring in waiting. The outermost cell houses the youngest, the innermost the oldest, ensuring that emergence occurs in an orderly procession. The engineering of these galleries reveals both efficiency and care. The walls are smoothed, the bore clean, the partitions sealed with resin or wood pulp to reduce fungal growth and predation. Each brood cell is a nursery insulated against the chaos of the outside world. As larvae develop, they consume their pollen loaves, pupate, and eventually emerge as adults, chewing their way out through the partitions in a sequence dictated by their position. In this way, the tunnel becomes both womb and corridor, guiding the rhythm of a generation's birth. For humans, these wooden excavations can seem destructive, particularly when they occur in barns, fences, or the beams of houses. Yet in natural ecosystems, carpenter bees are recyclers, turning dead wood into living nurseries. The abandoned tunnels later serve other organisms, beetles, spiders, even solitary wasps, expanding the ecological role of each excavation. Thus, what appears as simple drilling is in fact the creation of microhabitats that ripple through the woodland community. The dual life of the carpenter bee, pollinator of flowers and carpenter of wood, speaks to the breadth of adaptations in a single insect. In the morning, it may shake pollen from blossoms with a symphony of vibrations. In the evening, it may retreat into a gallery carved by its own jaws. Each behavior is tightly bound to survival, and each reveals an evolutionary story written not in words but in frequencies and tunnels. The bee's robust body is built for these tasks. Dense thoracic muscles generate the necessary power for sonication. Mandibles of hardened cuticle allow for repeated chiseling into resistant wood. Even the hair pattern across the body serves function, capturing pollen dust in thick mats that later feed the larvae. Nothing is ornamental. Every trait is a tool, every action a negotiation between the needs of the insect and the structures of its environment. From an ecological perspective, the role of carpenter bees extends beyond individual flowers or logs. By enabling pollination of poricidal anther plants, they maintain the diversity of plant communities that would otherwise lose their reproductive output. By drilling wood, they accelerate decomposition and habitat turnover. Even their predators, birds, reptiles, parasitic wasps, depend on their abundance, shaping predator-prey interactions in layered ways. The bee is not merely an insect, it is a keystone in the quiet architecture of ecosystems. Watching a carpenter bee at work is to witness a blend of precision and brute force. The buzz that rattles a flower into releasing pollen contrasts with the silent patience of mandibles carving into timber. Yet both are acts of transformation. Pollen converted into sustenance, wood converted into shelter. And in both lies the lesson that adaptation is not about a single talent, but about the ability to master different environments through specialized strategies. As the day wanes, the orchard quiets. Flowers close their petals, conserving nectar for the next morning. The carpenter bee, its body dusted gold with pollen, returns to its tunnel. Within, brood cells wait, sealed behind partitions. The buzz that shook the morning's blossoms is now absent, replaced by stillness. But the work of the bee continues invisibly. Pollen grains transferred across flowers will germinate, fruits will swell, seeds will form. Life multiplies in silence because one insect chose to play the role of both musician and carpenter. In the end, the carpenter bee embodies an evolutionary truth, that survival is often granted to those who can turn the simplest resources into instruments of complexity. With vibration, it plays flowers like instruments. With mandibles, it sculpts wood like a craftsman. And through these twin skills, it ensures the persistence of both its own lineage and the ecosystems it inhabits. In the dappled light of a forest understory, where beams of sunlight fall in shifting mosaics across bark and leaf, a small hunter pauses on the edge of a branch. It is no longer than a fingernail, its body clad in iridescent hairs that catch the light with subtle flashes of green, copper, or gold. Though diminutive, this creature is among the most formidable predators of its scale, the jumping spider. Its approach to hunting is unlike that of web builders who wait passively, or ambush hunters who rely on stillness. Instead, it is an acrobat, a strategist, and above all, a creature equipped with a sensory system so advanced that it seems to belong to another order of life entirely. To the human eye, a jumping spider appears to survey its world with exaggerated attentiveness. The large, forward-facing eyes dominate its face, round and glossy, as if reflecting curiosity itself. But this impression is more than illusion. Jumping spiders possess 8 eyes, arranged in a complex array that together form one of the most sophisticated visual systems in the invertebrate world. The 2 central anterior median eyes function like telephoto lenses. They contain layered retinas capable of sharp focus, color vision, and depth perception. With these, the spider can scrutinize a single target with extraordinary clarity, perceiving not just movement, but fine details of shape and hue. The surrounding eyes play different roles. The anterior lateral eyes act as motion detectors, scanning the periphery for even the faintest flicker of activity. Further back, the posterior lateral and posterior median eyes expand the field of view, offering near panoramic awareness. Together, this 8-camera rig creates a division of labor: high-resolution telephoto at the center, wide-angle motion detectors at the sides, and supplementary sensors at the rear. The spider sees not only forward but around, above, and behind, a living surveillance system compressed into a body a fraction of an inch across. Vision alone, however, does not account for the spider's predatory success. The act of capture depends on another adaptation entirely: a hydraulic launching system hidden within its legs. Unlike most animals that rely solely on muscular extension, jumping spiders augment muscle force with shifts in internal fluid pressure. By rapidly increasing the hemolymph pressure within their legs, they extend them with explosive force. The result is a leap that can span more than 6 times their body length, executed in near silence and with pinpoint accuracy. The spider is not a reckless jumper. Each launch is calculated, coordinated with sensory data from its eyes, and tethered to safety by a silk dragline anchored before the leap. Should the trajectory fail, the spider does not plummet. The lifeline arrests its fall, allowing another attempt. To understand this sequence is to see an intricate dance of biomechanics and cognition. Before a jump, the spider pauses, orienting itself with subtle head and body movements. The large median eyes fixate, adjusting focus through tiny shifts in the layered retina. The side eyes sweep for movement, ensuring no threat lurks nearby. Then the forelegs rise slightly, aligning posture with the launch vector. Internal hydraulics engage, hemolymph pressure surges, and in an instant the spider is airborne. The leap is so fast that only high-speed cameras can reveal the extension of each leg, the arc of the body, the impact of landing. But what makes jumping spiders remarkable is not simply their ability to leap. It is their capacity to plan. Unlike many invertebrates that act purely on instinctual reflex, jumping spiders demonstrate cognitive behaviors that border on problem-solving. In controlled experiments, these spiders have been shown to take indirect routes to prey, choosing detours that temporarily obscure the target from sight. Such behavior implies an internal representation of space, a mental map that allows the spider to plot a path beyond immediate sensory input. It is not just reacting, it is anticipating. Consider a hunting sequence in the wild. A fly lands on a leaf beyond the reach of a direct jump. The spider observes, then retreats, descending out of sight along the underside of a branch. It travels along an alternate route, climbing up a different stem, emerging behind the fly's position. Throughout this detour, the prey is invisible, yet the spider's actions remain directed toward the remembered goal. When it finally launches, it does so from an angle of advantage, striking with accuracy that belies its size. Such behavior suggests working memory, spatial awareness, and a degree of foresight uncommon among creatures so small. The ecological consequences of these adaptations are profound. Jumping spiders are among the most numerous predators in many terrestrial ecosystems, preying on insects that would otherwise proliferate unchecked. By targeting flies, moths, and small beetles, they regulate populations that affect plant health and agricultural systems. Their reliance on vision rather than web structures frees them to hunt across diverse habitats, from tropical forests and grasslands to urban gardens and cliff faces. They are nomadic hunters, carrying their arsenal wherever prey may be found. The 8-camera system also serves defensive functions. Birds, lizards, and larger spiders all pose threats. A sudden flicker detected at the periphery triggers a freeze or retreat. In some species, bright coloration and iridescent scales double as warning or display. Males of certain jumping spiders perform elaborate courtship dances, using visual signals to persuade females rather than force. These rituals reveal another dimension of their reliance on vision, not only to hunt, but to communicate. The telephoto eyes, tuned to detail, allow a female to scrutinize the leg waves and abdominal vibrations of a male, judging fitness through the precision of his display. Behind these behaviors lies an evolutionary story of remarkable sensory innovation. While most spiders trace their lineage to web-building ancestors, jumping spiders diverged toward active pursuit. Webs were abandoned, but silk was not. Instead, it was repurposed into safety lines, shelters, and egg sacs. Freed from the constraints of passive traps, these spiders evolved visual systems and locomotor strategies that rival those of far larger animals. The convergence is striking. In their binocular depth perception and planned hunting, they echo the strategies of predatory birds or felines, scaled down to a body measured in millimeters. The role of hydraulics further illustrates the efficiency of evolutionary design. Muscles alone could not generate the power needed for such leaps without excessive bulk. By supplementing muscle contraction with internal pressure, jumping spiders achieve feats disproportionate to their size. This principle has even inspired robotics, where engineers study spider locomotion to design machines capable of agile, fluid movement in compact frames. Nature's solutions, refined over millions of years, often outpace human invention. In the stillness of the forest understory, the cycle repeats endlessly. The spider leaps, captures, consumes, and repositions. Each hunt is a balance of perception and action, strategy and execution. To witness one is to see a creature that embodies both precision engineering and cognitive subtlety, a predator whose effectiveness comes not from brute force, but from the refinement of sensory systems and biomechanics. As the sun lowers and shadows deepen, the spider anchors a silken retreat against bark, settling into a chamber where it will rest until morning. Its eyes, so alert in daylight, lose effectiveness in darkness, and its hunting ceases. Yet the legacy of the day lingers. Flies reduced in number, plants spared from excessive grazing, energy transferred through the food web in silent transactions. In this way, the jumping spider maintains its role as a regulator, an unseen but vital player in ecosystems, from forest floor to garden hedge. The story of the jumping spider is a reminder that complexity does not scale only with size. Within a creature smaller than a fingernail exists a system of vision, hydraulics, and cognition that challenges our assumptions about invertebrate life. It is a hunter with 8 cameras and a hydraulic launcher, a strategist that can plot detours, a dancer that can signal intention, a survivor that stitches silk into lifelines rather than webs. To study it is to glimpse the ingenuity of evolution condensed into one of nature's smallest yet most accomplished predators. In the humid stillness of a tropical night, the forest canopy becomes a marketplace of scents. Fermented sap oozes from the bark of wounded trees, filling the air with a sweet, intoxicating aroma that drifts through the understory. To many creatures, this smell is a signal of opportunity. Moths arrive in delicate flutters, ants march in orderly lines, and beetles converge in great numbers, drawn to the sugary banquet. But among these visitors are titans of the insect world, rhinoceros beetles, their armored forms gleaming like burnished bronze in the dim glow of moonlight. They come not only to drink. For the males, the sap bar is also an arena, a battlefield where access to food and potential mates is decided by contests of strength and leverage. Their weapons are unmistakable, immense horns rising from the head and thorax, curving like the prongs of a living trident. These ornaments, grotesque in scale compared to the beetle's body, have long fascinated naturalists and engineers alike. Yet their secret lies not just in shape, but in structure. Inside each horn, beneath the gleaming surface, is a lightweight lattice of foam-like tissue. This internal architecture grants extraordinary strength while minimizing mass, enabling the beetle to carry and wield horns longer than its own body without crippling its ability to fly. This design is a lesson in natural engineering. A solid horn of equivalent size would be impossibly heavy, compromising both movement and survival. Instead, the foam core structure creates a balance between rigidity and weight reduction. The outer shell is dense, protecting against impact, while the interior is a scaffold of air-filled chambers that distribute force. It is the same principle that human architects employ in foam core composites or aircraft wings, a convergence of ideas arrived at independently by nature and technology. Evolution, by trial and error over millions of years, discovered a structural solution that humans only learned to imitate in recent centuries. The battles fought with these horns are neither random nor reckless. When two males encounter one another at a sap flow, they size each other up, locking forelegs and bracing with claws. Then, with horns lowered, they engage in contests of leverage. One beetle attempts to pry the other from the bark, hooking beneath its opponent's thorax and lifting with sudden force. The goal is not to wound, but to flip, to send the rival tumbling backward off the trunk. The victor remains to feed and to guard the territory, while the defeated must retreat into the darkness. These duels are spectacular in their intensity. A male rhinoceros beetle may be capable of lifting objects over 100 times its own weight, yet the contests are often evenly matched, lasting for minutes as each combatant strains for advantage. The foam core horn bends slightly under pressure but resists fracture, dissipating energy through its internal lattice. In the silence of night, the sound of chitin scraping against bark echoes faintly, punctuated by sudden impacts as one beetle topples another from its perch. The key to these contests is not only strength, but grip. Rhinoceros beetles possess adhesive pads on their feet lined with microscopic hairs, each tipped with spatula-like ends. Through van der Waals forces, the weak molecular attractions that operate at extremely close distances, these hairs adhere to surfaces at a level invisible to the naked eye. On bark slick with sap or angled nearly vertical, the beetle holds fast, its grip rivaling that of geckos. This adhesion allows the beetle to anchor itself during combat, preventing easy displacement and enabling it to channel force efficiently through its horn. Without this adaptation, even the most powerful weapon would falter against gravity and slick wood. The ecological context of these duels extends beyond spectacle. Sap flows serve as energy-rich resources, concentrated in specific locations and limited in availability. By controlling access, dominant males ensure not only their own nourishment, but also their proximity to females that visit these sites. Females, while lacking the extravagant horns, rely on the sap as a nutritional supplement, and their presence at the feeding site provides opportunity for mating encounters. Thus, the sap bar becomes both a food source and a social hub, where the dynamics of competition and reproduction intersect. The evolution of the horn reflects a balance between costs and benefits. For the male, carrying such a large structure imposes risks, greater visibility to predators, aerodynamic challenges during flight, and the energetic expense of growth. Yet the reproductive advantage gained by winning contests outweighs these costs. Females select not by horn size alone, but by the outcomes of battles, which serve as honest signals of strength and stamina. In this way, the foam core lever becomes both weapon and advertisement, a display of fitness sculpted by sexual selection as much as by survival. Beyond their dramatic battles, rhinoceros beetles play quieter but equally significant roles in ecosystems. By feeding on sap, fruits, and decaying wood, they contribute to nutrient cycling, breaking down plant matter and returning resources to the soil. Their larvae, massive grubs that tunnel through rotting logs, accelerate decomposition, transforming dead trees into fertile substrate for fungi, plants, and other animals. These subterranean engineers may spend years in development, unseen beneath the surface, before emerging as adults for a brief season of flight, combat, and reproduction. The contrast between larval life and adult spectacle is striking. Underground, the grub relies on powerful mandibles to grind decaying wood, growing slowly in a world of darkness and soil. Above ground, the adult emerges fully armored, its life compressed into the span of a year or less, during which it must feed, fight, and reproduce. The horn that dominates the adult form is entirely absent in the larva, an investment made only when the time comes to compete for mates. This transformation illustrates the dual life cycles of many insects, one stage devoted to growth and resource accumulation, the other to reproduction and dispersal. From a human perspective, the rhinoceros beetle embodies both mystery and inspiration. In some cultures, the battles of males are observed as natural spectacles, even imitated in traditional games where beetles are encouraged to wrestle. In scientific research, the structure of the horn provides insights into lightweight materials and mechanical efficiency. The beetle demonstrates how foam core designs distribute stress, how micro-adhesive systems generate grip, and how biological levers amplify force. For engineers and biologists alike, it is a reminder that innovation often begins in the natural world. As night deepens, the sap flows continue to attract rivals. A dominant male, victorious in several duels, holds his ground, his horn gleaming in the faint starlight. Yet even he cannot rest. New challengers arrive, each compelled by instinct to test their strength. The arena is never empty, the contests never final. Each generation repeats the cycle, driven by the same forces that shaped horns into foam core levers and feet into adhesive pads. The rhinoceros beetle, though silent and often unseen in daylight, embodies a drama of biomechanics and behavior as compelling as any large mammal. Its horn, hollow yet strong, tells a story of engineering efficiency. Its battles reveal the interplay of strength, leverage, and grip. Its role in ecosystems reminds us that even the most ostentatious ornaments are woven into cycles of decomposition, nutrient flow, and regeneration. In the end, the rhinoceros beetle is both warrior and recycler, both spectacle and subtle participant in the forest's balance. To witness its night battles is to glimpse evolution's creativity, not in the size of the animal, but in the ingenuity of its design. A horn built like a foam core lever, wielded in contests where victory belongs not to the reckless, but to the one who grips, lifts, and endures. On a bright spring morning, when tender shoots push upward and the air hums with the quiet labor of pollinators, a small but unmistakable figure crawls across a stem. Its body is domed, polished, and painted with a costume that would seem ostentatious for an insect so tiny, a cloak of red or orange, marked with black spots like a heraldic shield. To human eyes it is charming, even endearing, a familiar visitor to gardens and fields. But to the eyes of other insects, and to the chemical senses of would-be predators, this bright suit carries an unmistakable message. Beware. The ladybug, or ladybird beetle as it is known in many parts of the world, is a miniature fortress armed with both visual warning and chemical defense. Yet beneath that rounded shell lies an engineering marvel of flight and a predatory appetite that makes it one of the most important allies in the world of plants. The colors of the ladybug are not mere decoration. They are a language of survival, a form of aposematism that advertises toxicity. When threatened, the beetle releases a substance from its leg joints, a reflex bleeding of orange-yellow hemolymph that carries alkaloid toxins. The smell is sharp, unpleasant, and unmistakable, discouraging birds or small mammals that might otherwise swallow the beetle whole. Even without tasting the chemical itself, predators quickly learn to associate the bright red and black suit with danger, and memory ensures that the lesson is not easily forgotten. The warning is honest, the toxins are real, and while they may not kill a large animal, they are bitter enough to spoil a meal and strong enough to provoke vomiting in some birds. Thus, the ladybug's shield is twofold, color that warns and fluid that defends. Yet beneath this painted armor is a secret seldom glimpsed. A pair of wings large enough to carry the beetle aloft, folded away in an arrangement so compact and efficient that human engineers study it as a model for deployable structures. The outer shell, called the elytra, is hard and protective, shielding the delicate flight wings underneath. At rest, the wings lie folded and pleated like origami, compressed into a space far smaller than their expanded span. When the beetle chooses to fly, it lifts the elytra outward, unfolding the hidden wings with a rapid flick. The transformation is astonishing. A dome no larger than a fingernail suddenly produces membranous wings that stretch several times the body's width. The unfolding follows a precise geometry of creases and joints, ensuring that the wing extends fully and locks into place within moments. After flight, the entire structure must collapse back into its chamber, pleated once more without tearing or misalignment. The efficiency of this system has fascinated scientists. Insects like ladybugs achieve with natural materials what human designers struggle to reproduce, a structure that can fold and unfold thousands of times without failure, all while maintaining strength and flexibility. The veins in the wings act as both support and hinge, guiding the fold lines like pre-scored paper. This origami of flight is not simply elegant but necessary. Without the protective elytra, the wings would be shredded during the beetle's crawling life among leaves and bark. With them, the beetle carries a shield that doubles as a doorway to the skies. When in flight, the ladybug appears ungainly, its wing beats loud and clattering, yet its airborne ability is impressive. It can cover long distances relative to its size, dispersing across fields and orchards in search of prey. And what it seeks is not nectar or pollen, though it may sip from these sources, but flesh, specifically the soft bodies of aphids. Ladybugs are carnivores disguised in cheerful coats, and their appetite for aphids is insatiable. A single adult may consume dozens in a day, and across a season, hundreds or even thousands. Their larvae, spiny and dark, are even hungrier, prowling stems with crocodile-like jaws that pierce and drain aphids with ruthless efficiency. This predation has ecological and agricultural importance that cannot be overstated. Aphids are among the most damaging pests to plants, siphoning sap and transmitting viruses. Left unchecked, their populations can devastate crops. The ladybug, therefore, acts as a natural regulator, reducing aphid numbers and providing a service that farmers have long recognized. In many regions, ladybugs are deliberately introduced as biological control agents, released into greenhouses or orchards to keep pests in check. Unlike chemical pesticides, their hunting is selective and sustainable, guided by instinct rather than indiscriminate toxicity. The hunting strategy of a ladybug combines patience and efficiency. Crawling along stems and leaves, it searches for clusters of aphids. Once detected, it grips with clawed feet and uses sharp mandibles to seize its prey. The aphid struggles briefly, but resistance is futile. Its juices are consumed, leaving behind only a husk. The beetle then moves on to the next, and the next, each kill not just survival for the beetle but relief for the plant. In ecosystems across the world, the presence of ladybugs marks the difference between unchecked infestation and balance restored. Yet the life of a ladybug is not all predation. When autumn arrives and the days shorten, these beetles prepare for winter in a behavior that transforms them from solitary hunters into communal survivors. As temperatures drop, they seek shelter in leaf litter, under bark, or within cracks in rocks and buildings. There they gather in massive clusters, sometimes numbering in the thousands. The sight is extraordinary, a living mosaic of red and black, packed tightly together, conserving warmth through collective presence. This aggregation is not only for thermoregulation but also for safety. The combined chemical defenses of such a mass deter predators, and the sheer numbers increase the likelihood of survival until spring. These overwintering clusters also demonstrate the beetle's reliance on environmental cues. They are guided by changes in temperature and day length, and some species even show fidelity to the same overwintering sites year after year, navigating back across landscapes by means not yet fully understood. The cluster becomes a living time capsule, a suspended society waiting for the return of warmth. When spring sunlight filters back through the canopy, the beetles disperse once more, unfolding their hidden wings and resuming the hunt for aphids. From an evolutionary perspective, the ladybug embodies multiple strategies interwoven into a single form. Its aposematic colors represent an arms race with predators, its chemical shield a line of defense honed through millions of years. Its wing-folding mechanism is an innovation of biomechanics, a solution to the conflict between protection and flight. Its predatory appetite ties it to the regulation of herbivores, indirectly safeguarding plant health and productivity. And its overwintering clusters highlight the power of collective survival in a world where individual resilience is not always enough. Humans have long regarded the ladybug with affection, perhaps because of its appearance or its role as a gardener's ally. Folklore across cultures paints it as a bringer of luck, a symbol of good harvests, or a messenger of protection. While such associations are cultural, they reflect an intuitive recognition of the beetle's ecological importance. Beneath the myths lies a reality even more compelling, an insect whose small body houses a suite of adaptations that rival those of creatures many times its size. As the spring morning deepens, the ladybug on the stem spreads its elytra and reveals the hidden wings beneath. In an instant, it transforms from a crawling speck into a flying predator, lifting above the leaves toward a colony of aphids clustered on a new shoot. Its bright shell flashes in the sun, both warning and disguise, while its flight wings carry it with surprising speed. The moment it lands, it resumes its role as hunter, mandibles working, chemical defenses ready, part of an endless cycle of balance between plant, herbivore, and predator. In the end, the ladybug is more than its colors or its charm. It is a predator in miniature armor, a flyer with origami wings, a survivor with chemical shields, and a communal being that endures winter in the warmth of multitudes. To watch it is to glimpse evolution's ability to blend function with form, efficiency with beauty. Within its domed back lies a story of survival strategies woven seamlessly together, a reminder that even the smallest creatures can hold within them some of the most ingenious designs of life. In the stillness of twilight, when the wind hushes and the forest canopy casts shifting shadows across the understory, it becomes nearly impossible to separate wood from life. On branches and stems, elongated forms cling without motion, their bodies slender and angular, their hues echoing bark and leaf vein. The stick insect, master of disguise, turns the act of being overlooked into an art. Where most predators rely on armor or speed, the stick insect survives by perfecting absence. It is a creature designed to vanish, to blur into the architecture of plants so completely that even the most vigilant bird or reptile might pass it by without suspicion. Camouflage is not passive cloth draped over its body. It is behavior interwoven with morphology. The stick insect does not simply resemble a twig. It acts like one. Its movements are deliberate, often timed with the rhythm of wind. When breezes ripple through the forest and branches sway, the insect joins in, rocking back and forth in perfect synchrony. This motion confuses predators that rely on detecting irregular movement. In a world where stillness can betray life, mimicry of randomness is the higher disguise. Yet when the wind stops, the stick insect freezes as if the invisible puppeteer has cut the strings. What remains on the branch looks like nothing more than another lifeless twig in a forest full of them. When camouflage fails, the stick insect employs another strategy: thanatosis, or death feigning. Startled by a sudden touch or a looming shadow, it may release its grip, dropping from its perch to the forest floor below. Landing silently among the leaf litter, it lies rigid, legs curled, body motionless. To a predator, the fall may seem like nothing more than debris shaken loose by wind. By imitating not only the shape of a stick but the inertness of one, the insect extends its disguise into the realm of behavior. This act of vanishing by simulation of death has saved countless lives across generations, proving that survival often belongs to those who can play convincingly at being nothing at all. For some species, deception escalates further. Beneath their twig-like forms, hidden until crisis demands, are flashes of unexpected color. Hindwings, normally concealed, open suddenly to reveal bright hues, crimson, azure, or lemon yellow, startling predators with a burst of contrast. The tactic is short-lived but effective. Birds and lizards, momentarily dazzled or confused, hesitate long enough for the insect to drop into the litter or retreat into deeper foliage. The wings then fold away, the bright signal gone, and the insect becomes once again part of the anonymous fabric of stems and branches. This interplay of concealment and sudden revelation illustrates the layered defenses that evolution has sculpted into their form. Yet the story of the stick insect's survival is not confined to its adult life. Even in reproduction, deception and partnership play essential roles. Females, often larger and more robust than males, scatter eggs onto the forest floor. To human eyes, these eggs resemble tiny seeds, each encased in a tough shell and adorned with a specialized cap called an operculum. Attached to the egg is a fatty structure known as an elaeosome, a feature shared with many plant seeds. This small addition, rich in lipids and proteins, is not for the embryo, but for ants. The resemblance is more than coincidence. Ants, ever foraging, collect these egg seeds and carry them into their nests, drawn by the nutritional value of the elaeosome. They consume the fatty appendage, but discard the intact egg in the nest's refuse chambers. In doing so, they provide the stick insect embryo with a sheltered microenvironment, safe from larger predators, buffered from extremes of temperature, and protected from fungal growth. What appears as mere mimicry of plant seeds is in fact a co-opted mutualism. The ants gain food, the insect gains a nursery. This partnership, though unintentional on the part of the ants, demonstrates once again how natural selection bends interactions into tools of survival. The incubation period of these eggs may last for months, sometimes extending beyond a year, timed with the seasonal cycles of the forest. When the nymph emerges, it is a miniature replica of the adult, already cloaked in twig-like disguise. Growth is slow, achieved through a series of molts in which the insect sheds its exoskeleton, each stage bringing it closer to maturity. During these vulnerable moments, when the fresh cuticle is soft, the nymph remains motionless, relying on camouflage even in immobility. Survival is a patient process, and patience is what the stick insect has mastered. The ecological role of stick insects extends beyond their deception. They are herbivores, consuming leaves with deliberate chewing mandibles. In doing so, they influence plant growth, pruning foliage in subtle ways that shape the dynamics of the understory. Their populations provide prey for a range of predators, from bats that detect them in flight to parasitic wasps that seek out their eggs. By existing at this intersection of plant consumer and prey item, stick insects weave themselves into the food web, their survival strategies resonating through the ecosystem in unseen ways. Predation pressures have also shaped remarkable variations across species. Some stick insects grow to extraordinary lengths, among the largest insects on Earth, their bodies resembling entire twigs complete with bark-like textures and node-like joints. Others adopt leaf mimicry, their bodies flattened and veined, margins scalloped to resemble chewed edges. In these forms, even damage is imitated. Brown blotches mimic fungal infection, holes mimic herbivore bites. To predators, these details strengthen the illusion that there is nothing alive to pursue. From a physiological standpoint, the reliance on camouflage places unique demands on the insect's sensory systems. Without fast flight or venom, early detection of threats is essential. Stick insects rely heavily on tactile feedback from their antennae and acute sensitivity to vibrations in the substrate. A bird landing on a branch may send a tremor through wood and air, prompting the insect to freeze or drop long before the predator closes in. This sensitivity, coupled with behavior, forms a survival strategy that is less about confrontation and more about avoidance, a philosophy of life that prioritizes invisibility over defense. Yet invisibility is not absolute. Certain parasitoids, such as wasps, have evolved to locate stick insect eggs despite their mimicry, using chemical cues to detect what ants overlook. These interactions reveal the perpetual arms race of evolution, where every adaptation is countered by another, and no strategy remains infallible. The persistence of stick insects across millions of years, however, testifies to the overall effectiveness of their approach. For humans, stick insects evoke fascination both for their bizarre shapes and for the elegance of their mimicry. They remind us that survival does not always require speed or ferocity. Sometimes it demands the opposite, the art of being unremarkable, the discipline of disappearing into the background, the patience to outlast detection. Their eggs, scattered like seeds, hijack the industrious labor of ants. Their bodies, aligned with twigs, borrow the stillness of the forest. They are creatures that thrive not by dominating their environment, but by blending seamlessly into it. As night settles deeper, a breeze stirs the canopy, and the stick insect resumes its rocking motion. To the untrained eye, there is nothing there but branches shifting in the wind. Hidden in plain sight, the insect endures, its survival tied to its invisibility, its lineage carried forward by eggs disguised as seeds, carried unwittingly by ants into hidden chambers. In this delicate choreography of mimicry and deception, the stick insect demonstrates that sometimes the most powerful survival strategy is not to be seen at all. At first glance, the monarch butterfly seems fragile, a drifting scrap of orange and black carried lightly on the air. Its wings, paper-thin and veined like stained glass, flash with a rhythm both delicate and determined. But beneath this elegance lies one of the most astonishing life strategies in the insect world. The monarch is not only a master of long-distance travel, capable of migrations that span continents, but also a thief of chemical defenses, transforming the poisons of its host plants into its own bright warning suit. To study the monarch is to uncover the intersection of physiology, ecology, and navigation, a story of survival written across entire landscapes. The journey begins long before the butterfly takes wing. On the underside of a milkweed leaf, a female monarch deposits a single egg no larger than a pinhead. When the caterpillar hatches, it faces a formidable challenge. Milkweed defends itself with latex, a sticky sap that oozes from damaged veins. This latex can glue the mouthparts of small insects shut, suffocating them in its coagulating grip. But the monarch caterpillar is not deterred. With a strategy that combines instinct and engineering, it severs the veins of the leaf in neat trenches before feeding. By cutting these channels, it reduces the pressure of the latex, allowing the leaf tissue beyond the cut to dry out. In doing so, the caterpillar disarms the plant's defense, transforming a toxic fortress into an edible banquet. Yet milkweed holds more than latex. Hidden within its tissues are cardinalides, bitter chemicals that interfere with the sodium-potassium pumps of animal cells. For most herbivores, these compounds are deadly. For the monarch, they are treasure. Through specialized adaptations in its physiology, the caterpillar tolerates these toxins, not only consuming them, but storing them in its own tissues. Later, as the caterpillar pupates and emerges as an adult butterfly, the cardinalides remain. The orange and black wings that flutter across meadows are not only beautiful, but honest advertisements. This insect is poisonous, and predators would do well to remember. The bright pattern of the monarch is an aposematic signal, much like the red of the ladybug or the yellow of the wasp. Birds that attempt to eat a monarch often spit it out in disgust, their beaks stained with the bitter taste of cardinalides. Some vomit, an experience unpleasant enough to deter them from trying again. The butterfly's warning suit is thus a contract between predator and prey, a shared memory that spreads quickly through bird populations. Orange and black means danger. But the monarch's story extends far beyond chemical theft. It is also a story of movement on a scale almost unimaginable for an insect. Each autumn, populations in North America embark on migrations that cover thousands of kilometers, traveling from Canada and the northern United States to the wintering sites in central Mexico. No single butterfly makes the round trip. Instead, the journey spans generations. The butterflies that arrive in Mexico have never been there before, yet they cluster by the millions in the same mountain forests their ancestors occupied. When spring arrives, they begin the return, laying eggs along the way so that their descendants can continue the trek northward. The cycle repeats endlessly, a relay race of wings carried across the continent. The key to this feat lies in the monarch's navigation system. Butterflies are not guided by random drift or by mere memory of landmarks. They use a solar compass, a biological mechanism that interprets the position of the sun. Yet, because the sun moves across the sky, a simple compass would lead them astray. To correct for this, monarchs possess a time-compensated sun compass. Internal circadian clocks, located in their antennae, allow them to adjust their orientation based on the hour of the day. The butterfly can thus hold a steady course southwest in the morning, south at noon, and southeast in the afternoon, always correcting for the shifting solar arc. This navigation is further refined by environmental cues. Monarchs ride highways of wind using favorable currents to conserve energy during long flights. They congregate in communal roosts at night, resting in clusters that drape trees with sheets of orange, their wings folded like overlapping shingles. The sight of thousands of butterflies roosting together is both practical and breathtaking. It conserves heat, reduces water loss, and provides safety in numbers. Yet it is also one of the most visually striking spectacles in the natural world. Forests transformed into living cathedrals where branches sag under the weight of wings. The physiological demands of migration are immense. Monarchs build fat reserves by feeding on nectar-rich flowers during their journey. These reserves sustain them through the winter months in Mexico, when they enter a state of diapause, delaying reproduction until spring. During this time, they remain largely inactive, conserving energy as they cluster in Oyamel fir forests at high elevations, where temperatures are cool but not lethal. This balance is delicate. Too cold, and they risk freezing. Too warm, and they burn through fat reserves before spring. The forests themselves provide microclimates that stabilize conditions, making the habitat critical to the butterfly's survival. Even within this migration, surprises abound. Monarchs exhibit an ability to adjust routes when faced with storms or unfavorable winds. They may use polarized light patterns in the sky as additional navigational aids. Some evidence even suggests sensitivity to Earth's magnetic field, though this remains under investigation. What is clear is that navigation is not a single tool, but a suite of overlapping systems, each compensating for the limitations of the others. Together, they allow a creature weighing less than a paperclip to traverse a continent with astonishing accuracy. The ecological role of the monarch butterfly reaches beyond its own survival. By feeding on milkweed, it participates in plant herbivore dynamics that influence the composition of meadows and fields. By visiting flowers during migration, it contributes to pollination, carrying pollen across landscapes. And as prey, despite its toxicity, it provides food for specialized predators and parasites that have evolved to bypass or tolerate cardinolides. In this way, the monarch connects plants, insects, birds, and even fungi in a web of interactions that stretch across ecosystems. Yet the monarch's survival is precarious. Habitat loss in overwintering sites, declines in milkweed populations due to herbicide use, and the pressures of climate change threaten the continuity of its migrations. The phenomenon of millions of butterflies filling the skies each autumn is not guaranteed to persist. Conservation efforts focus on protecting both the forests of Mexico and the milkweed-rich landscapes of North America, recognizing that migration is sustained only when both ends of the journey remain intact. From an evolutionary perspective, the monarch embodies a union of strategies that seem contradictory yet complement one another. It is both fragile and resilient, vulnerable to storms yet capable of enduring journeys that dwarf the scale of most insects. It is a thief of poisons yet transforms them into a shield. It is an individual of fleeting life yet part of a lineage that persists across generations through migration. The orange wings that flutter over a meadow are not merely the ornament of a butterfly, but the banner of aspices that has mastered chemistry, navigation, and endurance. As the sun dips toward the horizon, a cluster of monarchs roosts together in a stand of fir trees, their wings glowing in the fading light. Each one carries within it the story of a caterpillar that cut the veins of a milkweed leaf, of toxins sequestered and repurposed, of a compass calibrated to the sun. They are living symbols of a strategy that spans continents, linking the chemistry of a single plant to the geography of an entire hemisphere. To watch them settle into stillness is to glimpse the vast architecture of survival hidden behind fragile wings. When night settles over the desert, silence deepens into something almost tangible. The heat of the day dissipates, leaving the air cool and still. Stars sharpen overhead, and the moon lifts, throwing silver across dunes and stone. It is in this hour that the black scorpion emerges, a creature seemingly born of shadow, its armored form low to the ground and patient. By daylight, it is nearly invisible, retreating beneath rocks or into burrows, but under the ultraviolet glow of a lantern, it betrays itself with an otherworldly radiance. Its exoskeleton glows electric green, as though coated in moonlight distilled into pigment. To human eyes, the effect is eerie, spectral, and hypnotic. Yet this fluorescence is not for us, and the question of why scorpions glow remains one of biology's most fascinating mysteries. The fluorescence comes from compounds embedded in the cuticle, the outer armor of the scorpion's exoskeleton. Under normal light, these compounds are invisible, but under ultraviolet wavelengths, they emit a glow so bright that even faint starlight may trigger it. Some scientists believe this glow acts as a natural sunscreen, absorbing and dissipating harmful radiation in harsh environments. Others suggest it serves as camouflage, breaking up the scorpion's outline in moonlight. Still others propose it functions as a sensory aid, allowing the scorpion to detect and respond to light levels by literally glowing in proportion to its exposure. Whatever the reason, the phenomenon is unique among arthropods, an armor that is both shield and lantern, broadcasting signals invisible until the right light reveals them. The black scorpion's armor is only part of its survival system. Beneath its body extend two comb-like structures called pectines, lined with thousands of minute sensory hairs. To the casual observer, they look like small brushes trailing from the underside, but their function is profound. Each hair is a chemosensory and mechanosensory organ, capable of detecting the faintest traces of chemicals left by other organisms on the substrate. As the scorpion walks, it sweeps its pectines across the ground, reading the landscape like braille. Through these sensors, it can detect the presence of prey, the scent trails of rivals, or even subtle shifts in soil texture that mark familiar paths. In effect, the scorpion carries a ground radar beneath its body, mapping routes in darkness where sight is limited. This sensory capacity gives the black scorpion remarkable navigational ability. In studies where individuals were displaced from their burrows, they were observed returning with uncanny precision, even in total darkness. The pectines provide a chemical map of the terrain, storing information about familiar routes. Combined with their sensitivity to vibrations, picking up the faint tremors of insects walking nearby, scorpions are not blind hunters, but fully integrated readers of their environment. Where we might see only sand and stone, they perceive a tapestry of scents, textures, and signals invisible to human senses. When prey is detected, the black scorpion deploys a flexible arsenal. At the front are its pedipalps, massive claws built for seizing and crushing. These are the first tools of confrontation. A cricket wandering too close may find itself pinned instantly, the claws snapping shut with enough force to immobilize. The scorpion then judges its next move. If the prey is small or subdued, the claws alone are sufficient, tearing and guiding food to the mouth. But if the prey resists, or if danger threatens from a larger adversary, the scorpion raises its tail in a graceful yet deadly arc. At the tip lies the toxin, a bulb filled with venom glands and a sharp stinger poised like a syringe. The decision of claw versus stinger is not random but strategic. Venom is metabolically costly to produce, a chemical investment that must be rationed. For small, manageable prey, the scorpion conserves its venom, relying instead on mechanical strength. For larger, more dangerous prey or in defense against predators, the stinger is engaged. The strike is rapid, driving venom into muscle and nerve, subduing with efficiency that has been honed through millions of years of evolution. The venom itself varies among species, but in black scorpions it is designed to overwhelm the physiology of insects, disrupting ion channels and causing paralysis. To vertebrates, the sting is painful, sometimes medically significant, though rarely fatal to healthy adults. For the scorpion, however, it is a decisive advantage, tipping the balance in encounters where strength alone would falter. The ecology of the black scorpion is defined by this balance of offense and defense. It is both predator and prey, regulating insect populations while avoiding birds, mammals, and reptiles that seek it as food. Its nocturnal habits reduce exposure to diurnal predators, while its dark coloration provides concealment against rock and soil. Burrows offer refuge from extremes of temperature, a necessity in environments where daytime heat can be lethal. Within these burrows, scorpions regulate moisture loss, conserve energy, and rear their young. The female, after giving live birth, a rarity among arthropods, carries her pale offspring on her back until they molt and harden, releasing them only when they are ready to fend for themselves. The combination of ultraviolet fluorescence, pectine radar, and dual weaponry has made the black scorpion a subject of fascination for both scientists and storytellers. In some cultures, its glow has been taken as a sign of supernatural power, its sting feared as a symbol of danger. In laboratories, researchers probe its venom for medical potential, extracting peptides that may hold promise for treating heart disease, cancer, or bacterial infections. The very compounds that kill or disable prey are repurposed as tools for healing in human hands. But perhaps the most striking aspect of the black scorpion is the way it embodies contrasts. Its armor is both visible and invisible, glowing under light most animals cannot see. Its pectines are delicate yet powerful, capable of reading the ground with sensitivity beyond our comprehension. Its claws are blunt instruments of force, while its stinger is a precise hypodermic needle. Even its lifestyle oscillates between solitude in burrows and aggression in territorial defense. In every dimension, it is a creature of balance, between light and dark, concealment and revelation, restraint and violence. As the desert night deepens, the scorpion pauses beneath the glow of the moon. Its claws rest against stone, its pectines sweep the ground in quiet arcs, and its tail hovers lightly above its back. To the human eye, it is a silhouette, but under ultraviolet it burns with an eerie phosphorescence, a living cipher in the language of light. Somewhere in the sand nearby, a beetle stirs, sending vibrations through the soil. The scorpion pivots, reading the signal, deciding between the grip of claws and the thrust of venom. Every action is measured, every choice the outcome of adaptations tested by countless generations. In the stillness of the desert, the black scorpion reminds us that survival is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is written in the invisible glow of armor, in the chemical traces etched into the ground, in the silent calculus of when to grip and when to sting. To witness it is to glimpse evolution's capacity for invention, compressing sensory sophistication and lethal precision into a creature that thrives not by chance, but by mastery of its moonlit world.